We went to go see First Man at the IMAX. Directed by Damien Chazelle.
Yeah. Did La La Land.
La La Land, and before that, Whiplash.
Yeah.
He's shooting them out, isn't he?
Yeah, he's on fire.
He's on fire.
It premiered at Toronto, I think, and it was just sort of universally lauded. I kind of liked it. I'm slightly surprised by the universal sort of 5-star reviews. I feel a bit torn about it. Like, there are bits I really did like, and there are bits that I was kind of left a bit cold with.
We have serious problems.
It stars Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling
as Neil Armstrong, the first.
Famously the first man to walk on the moon.
Yeah.
If you believe that, which some people don't apparently. I believe that he did.
I believe that he did.
Yeah. It's about Neil Armstrong, but it's broader because it's about the NASA space race and some of the other astronauts in there as well, and
And it sort of shows just how dangerous the tests for this were, and just how many things could have gone wrong.
Yeah.
You also get a glimpse into the lives of sort of a little bit of the families, mainly Neil Armstrong's family.
Yeah, there's a domestic drama thing there because there's a sort of subplot. Near the beginning of the movie, his daughter dies, and there's a sort of domestic drama of him there's this sort of marital divide almost brought about by the death of his daughter, and there's this sort of it's like a personal. It's not just him getting to the moon; it's this sort of personal conquering of an obstacle that he has to conquer as well, which is it's good. It adds a bit of a
adds more than just get up there.
Yeah.
First man to walk on the moon. That'd be something.
The movie starts with a sort of test run on a
like a spy plane.
A spy plane that Neil Armstrong's flying into the sort of outer atmosphere and back down, and it is brilliant.
Yeah, it's incredible.
The opening of the film is probably my favourite part of the film, and it's very much sort of handheld camera, and you're in there constantly with him. You don't get a shot of the plane. You don't get a sense of where he is. You're just in there with him, and everything's you never have like a shot that's still until a little bit of loss of gravity, and then
it's very claustrophobic, and
I thought that was thrilling.
Yeah.
And then when he got out of the cockpit and it remained this close to his face, and you never saw the desert, and everything was still shaky, I was a bit like, uh-oh.
Yeah, well, there's something very striking visually about it. So we saw it on the IMAX. Almost every scene in the first sort of 4/5 of the movie, it wasn't in the IMAX. It was in, I'm not sure what the ratio was, but it wasn't the full IMAX. It didn't utilise the entire screen. And a lot of the shots, you say, are very, very close, like a lot of handheld, a lot of movement, and everything's really in kind of tight. And then later on, when, spoilers, he gets to the moon, when he gets to the moon, there's a sort of a shot where the camera goes out through the trapdoor of the lunar lander, and then it goes to the full IMAX, and then you get these big wide shots, and it's the contrast, between the vast expanse of the empty moon, and then everything before that is kind of quite, which is interesting. But there were a few times in that first sort of 2 hours where I was really sort of struggling to focus. I was kind of, oh God, it was a strain on the eyes. A lot of shots of
especially
people
on
the
IMAX.
Yeah, there was a lot of that.
It's a good idea, but one of the problems is that the moon is one of the most boring places in our solar system. Like, there's nothing there. It's like
it's just dirt.
Shine on the one.
The choice is an interesting choice. For me, it wasn't successful because the moon is boring, and also, I would have loved the costume design, the set design, all looked great from the close-ups that you could see, and I would have loved to have just gone back a bit, and if it looked, maybe if Roger Deakins had shot it, or whoever Paul Thomas Anderson's regular cinematographer is, if you think about The Master, I would have liked to have seen a bit more of like a more detail and a better look at 60s America than this like close up.
Technically, I found it interesting, and most of that was okay for me, because in the sort of first half of the movie, or the first 2/3 of the movie, lots of scenes of people, test runs on rockets. There's a scene where Ryan Gosling's testing a sort of hover thing, which is going to be the prototype for the lunar lander. And it's just a thing where these people doing these incredibly dangerous things for the first time. And so there's scenes where people are like pushed into the capsule at the top of the Saturn V rocket, and they're in there, and it's really close. And the sound in the movie is fantastic.
That is true.
It's completely overwhelming. And you have this clanking of the doors, and the door closes in, and everything's like tight. And from a sort of sensory point of view, I found most of this movie really fantastic. I was like, wow, this is incredible. My problem with it is I felt like it was a very kind of technically exhilarating movie, but emotionally I felt kind of nothing.
It's not his first performance where he's sort of playing a slightly
inscrutable,
and
dead behind the eyes.
And it works in the right movie. I loved him in Blade Runner 2049, and in this, it feels like, because they're getting to the moon, I've wanted a little bit more.
It was almost every character in this. They may as well have not been there. It's I may as well have just seen the rocket itself and all the machines on their own, because I kind of watched it with this. I feel nothing for any of the characters either way here. I don't dislike them. I don't like them. I'm just completely devoid of any emotion. Because I think the subplot when he has a sort of strained emotional relationship with his wife, obviously because they've had this family trauma,
played by Claire Foy, and he's sort of distant from his kids as well. He has two sons and he's distant. But this, there are these scenes where he's kind of, there's an emotional barrier between him and his wife. Fine, but I didn't feel anything for Claire Foy's character either as well. Again, she was just this sort of inscrutable, a great actress again.
But and there are sort of scenes where they're supposed to be having some sort of difficulty, and they have a reunion scene at the end, and it's like the equivalent of when two tennis players who are doubles partners have won a point and they sort of bump fists.
Yeah.
Buzz Aldrin's only in about 6 scenes, but they make him out to be the biggest arsehole in America.
Twiddling his evil moustache.
He cracks this insensitive prick who kind of cracks jokes when somebody dies. He makes an off-colour comment at a funeral. He sort of talks over Neil Armstrong at a press conference. He's sort of a bit of a character assassination of Buzz Aldrin.
It is peculiar, that.
But my disappointment and the one reservation I have with this movie, and on balance I did like it.
I like it, yeah.
And I think you'd go and see it. I don't think I'm going to rush to rewatch this. I'm certainly not going to go watch it again in the cinema, because I just I sort of marvelled at it technically, and I just felt totally empty inside as I watched it. It was a bit of it's one of those, when people say that 2001 is a cold movie. I don't think it is. I feel emotion when I watch 2001, but a common complaint about 2001 is that it's technically amazing, but it's filled with monkeys,
no humanity,
and a computer. That's the feeling I had with this. I sort of marvelled at it from a technical point of view, and I was sort of, I felt underwhelmed emotionally.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it is worth seeing in the cinema. I think there are a couple of sequences in it that are some of the best space set sequences I've ever seen. Certainly the best, my favourite ever sort of going into space sequence, because you're in there, and I've always wanted to see from a cockpit the change of the atmosphere.
That was great. It's
and it's done so well. It's just a little long, and you don't care, but it's some of it is great, and it's an interesting story, and some of the details are quite nice, but.
Yeah, kind of a mixed bag for me.
Yeah.
I liked it, but I didn't love it by any means. Thirst, man.
Finished.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.